It's a bull. Good morning. Hey, what's up? This is Brian Kuzmar with Commercial Rare Coins and Precious Metals in beautiful Lauderdale by the Sea. Really cool temperatures out there. I was going to put the regular live pier cam in Lauderdale by the Sea up, but this was so beautiful this morning. You know, when it gets cold, the manatees kind of levitate into these freshwater areas because I believe it's a lot warmer for them. But check this out, literally tons of manatees out there. And you know, for being such huge creatures, I think, gosh, they got to be a couple thousand pounds, I think, at least. I don't even know, but they're huge. They're like 6 to 8 feet long. And they call them sea cows down here as well. But such graceful, aren't they so graceful for such huge creatures in the water? Well, you can watch this anytime, and oh, there goes one right by the camera. And it's pretty cool stuff. This is the underwater manatee cam at Hermosa Springs. It is not South Florida, however, you know, once in a while I like to mix it up a little bit. And we've seen all the fish cams and the beach cams. I figured I'd show you another part of Florida's natural beauty, which is, again, our sea cows. All right, well, let's get into what markets are doing here and what they're not doing. And I'm going to take a look here real quick. And here's our kind of what is it, quote of the day. I guess you can call it a quote, or perhaps a description of a word that's probably new to most of you and was new to me. Ineptocracy, and I think that's the proper way to pronounce it. A system of government where the least capable to lead are elected by the least capable of producing. Sound familiar? And where the members of society least likely to sustain themselves or succeed are rewarded with goods and services paid by the confiscated wealth of a diminishing number of producers. You can let that soak in for a moment, but that's kind of what we got running this country right now. We got a bunch of numbnuts out there working in our economic sectors, working in our political sectors, but we kind of reap what we sow. You know, we've allowed this corporate news and the corporate narrative, the 30-second soundbite corporate narrative to rule our lives for decades now, and we've put people into these offices and these positions of power that are really only kind of out for themselves, it seems. But no less, this is an exact description of what we got going on. It's no longer a democracy. It's an inepto, I'm having a hard time pronouncing this, ineptocracy. And again, a system of government where the least capable to lead are elected, and that's exactly what we've been seeing for decades now, and the least capable of producing. And where the members of society least likely to sustain themselves or succeed are rewarded with goods and services. And again, didn't mean to repeat myself, but man, it's so true. This kind of nails it, what we've got going on. Again, democracies? I don't think so. I think it's more like this. Well, let's kind of move into some spot prices and talk about a few things. We're going to look at see what spot prices did since yesterday, and I'm going to look at the 24-hour charts. We're going to look at the stock market, which didn't look too bad this morning, but it's kind of it looks like it's starting to hemorrhage again. Let's see what happens. And who did you see? Speaking of what happened yesterday, did you see that reversal? Oh my gosh, I've never seen anything like it. Made me wonder what was really going on. Well, guess what it probably was? It was probably the Presidential Working Group, otherwise known as the Plunge Protection Team, more than likely, or some kind of Fed intervention that went in yesterday and propped up those markets, most likely, because that was not retail buyers and that was probably not institutional buyers that caused that 900-point reversal. I mean, mind-blowing, folks. And now we've got the federal government manipulating markets as well. More than likely, they've been doing it for years, and I'll tell you how and why. And it's kind of an interesting story if you're not familiar with the Presidential Working Group, or otherwise known as the Plunge Protection Team. Then we're going to look at a few other things. I'll talk about some products as well if I remember. You know me, I get off on tangents. And what's going on in the, again, equity and the crypto world. But first, let's see what's going on in our little world. Again, good opportunities to buy. The dip on silver, I believe that 100%. That's my opinion. And look, gold's making that move up to 1850 again. So I believe our 200-day moving average was 1850, 1810 or something along that line. So, you know, gold's looking really good. Silver's only going to go down so much. It's going to get bought up by a lot of the physical buyers and people that understand that's real cheap. And I honestly believe what we're seeing in this knockdown in the price of silver yesterday, we saw a low at 23.60, about the same as what we're seeing here as a low overnight. I believe that knockdown is just attempts, and it's really half-assed attempts of some big commercial banks trying to buy. Again, my opinion, speculative on my part, but I believe it's the knockdowns are just an attempt to buy back that silver at that $23 cost that we've been told about is what Bank of America owes on that. That's their approximate cost on the 800 million ounces that they borrowed from JP. But let's take a look at the swings overnight. Gold 1836, a high 1852. Man, it's looking good. And I said for a long time, even if you don't, a lot of you guys are just silver stackers. You don't own much gold. And I think it's good to mix it up. That's just my opinion, have a little bit of both metals. But a lot of silver stackers really do need to pay attention to the price of gold. Gold's the older sibling. It's the older, well, let's say older sibling, brother, sister, whatever, or however it wants to be identified as. So silver will follow the price of gold, as will platinum. And I'm really surprised. Platinum just still seems cheap at these levels, but let's talk about gold right now. About a 36, 46, 50, not quite a $20 swing there overnight. We're up $4 from the low so far here. And the high again, 1852. So we're sitting right there. Gold is looking wonderful. It really is. It's shining. Okay, I know that was a cheap pun, but it is shining. Silver doing well as too. I'm very, very happy and pleased with silver. I suspected it was going to get super monkey hammered. There's your first monkey hammer of the day. But it did not so much. I mean, a little bit yesterday, but a 50-cent range, 60-cent range. That we're going to give that up a little bit. That's how silver operates when it's doing well. When we're in a good bull market, I notice silver does move 50-cent and dollar increments. It's one of those deals where it takes 5 steps forward and 4 back, or maybe 3 back sometimes. And then you'll wake up in the morning, you'll see it takes 5 steps forward and it didn't go back at all. So I think we're kind of back in that stage. These movements don't bother me at all. If you have the opportunity to buy the dips, again, this is just my opinion. If you have the opportunity to buy the dips, buy the frickin' dips. Let's take a look at the ranges overnight on silver. 23.68 and a high at $24. So it's tapping that $24 mark again. For all intents and purposes, at 23.82, we're about there right now anyway. So silver's recovered nicely. We'll look at the 24-hour charts in a short bit as well. And platinum maintaining that $1,000 level. Silver did get a little hammer below that $24 level. And again, I believe that is probably, I'm going to say that the hammering probably took place in New York Comics at the opening or in the overnight markets, which would be most likely in silver. If they're going to monkey hammer silver, it's probably in the Globex Comics, Crimex markets, in my opinion. But we'll look at the 24-hour charts here in a sec. Platinum, I like platinum. It just seems so cheap. I remember at a time for years and years and years, platinum was just as expensive as gold, and it usually was about $100 to $200 more than the price of gold historically for a while there. But meanwhile, it's just been languishing for years, and it's a rare metal. You don't see a lot of it. So let's take a look at the low there, 1,008, again hanging on to that $1,000 level, and a high of 1031. I think we saw 1070 or 1080 in the last week or so. Platinum has backed off a little bit, but no less. Good moves there. And again, I think it's cheap in my opinion. I talk about palladium, but as I always say, nobody buys palladium. So what's the point of talking about something that no retail investors hardly buy? Hardly, I should say. There are a few of you that probably do mess with it. And boy, that stuff's as... if you're going to call any metal the crypto of metals, it would be palladium for sure, with the volatility that we've seen in it. And there's a couple other metals like that too, iridium or some others that, man, I've seen iridium. I can't remember which metal it was, one of the really rare ones. I've seen it go from 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 an ounce to 3,000 in such a short period of time. So there are some metals that act like highly volatile cryptos as well. I guess you got to understand those markets too. But I guess if you're buying them cheap at lows, all-time lows, you probably can't go wrong. They're going to eventually go up. They're important metals. Industrial speaking, okay, I'm wandering on here. Let me just kind of blow that window up a little bit. Here's our 24-hour gold spot chart, and she's not wanting to blow up. Okay, there we go. Oh, boy. Okay. Let me try this one more time, and I'm going to just do a refresh there. My Kitco page is acting up a little bit. See if I can blow that up. Oh, what the hell is going on here? I cannot increase the size of that page. All right, we'll have to look at it like this. That's really weird. Let's take a look at the green line here and see what happened with gold here. So pretty much last night, everything, look at that, the line 1835, she drifts up in the overnight markets, which could be Hong Kong, London, or the Globex markets. Likely Hong Kong and London is where you're seeing this type of action. Again, I feel that when you see large trades done on Globex, they're done just simply to monkey hammer the price down, or maybe up even. Let's take a look at that downward movement, and then this morning, bang, there you go. Complete opposite of what we've actually seen in the New York Crimex markets in the morning or the afternoon. That line is usually the other way, and then it snaps back, but there's some interesting action going on. You know what? It's funny, too. Prior to this stock market starting to kind of roll downwards or roll downhill, we saw some erratic action in both gold and silver for the last 2 weeks prior to yesterday. And I know it's been since the Fed has been jawboning, raising rates, and as you know, my opinion is that they'll raise them, they'll jawbone the rates, and the amount that they'll raise them will be meaningless. It'll be just enough. I think they were talking about a 50-point or a 50 basis point raise in interest rates. I think they're probably going to announce that they might do a quarter. They'll just kind of spread it out a little bit. But again, it's just jawboning the markets and trying to pull that inflation rate down. Meanwhile, trying to maintain these overcooked, greatest bubble of all time markets that we see in all other areas: bonds, equities, real estate, you name it. But funny that gold seemed to telegraph this last week. God, this is irritating. I can't blow that screen up for you. I'm sorry about that. So it kind of telegraphed all that action last week, and by moving upwards and having these strange gyrations from downward to upward spikes like that. So, God, again, it's almost like gold and silver are specifically gold, canary in the gold mine. Let's take a look at the overnight silver charts, and I don't have to blow that one up. And I'm going to see if I can let's just redo this real quick. There we go. Silver market's a little more erratic, moving in again, 50 cent, 60 cent moves I think are healthy in silver. Not uncommon when we're in a moving bull market, my opinion again. So yesterday's action 24, you can see right there where silver gets monkey hammered in the Crimex markets right there, and starts to drift its way backwards and where it stays. Again, this is a typical scenario that we see when silver does get monkey hammered. It happens in the Crimex markets, and again, I believe of late, which is weird, of late, it's been happening and also in what I believe to be the Globex markets. Speculative on my part. It's hard to tell where these big trades are done, whether it's London, Globex, or Hong Kong. But Globex is open 24 hours a day, 23 hours a day, I think, and it's owned by the Comex family. And again, that's my opinion. I think these folks are criminal to a large degree. Manipulative, and that would be criminal, especially if it causes other people losses. So let's take a look at this right here. And there's our action, our rebound back up in silver right there as well. And it really didn't get monkey hammered too much. It kind of looks like it was just drifting downhill mostly, but we're kind of back up to, again, close to that 24 mark. And these kind of moves don't bother me at all. These 50, 60 cent swings don't bother me at all. And as I said to you silver folks out there, keep an eye on gold. Gold is the older sibling. Silver, no matter what happens, even if it gets delayed, gold moves up dramatically, silver will follow. Maybe not right away, but eventually silver will follow. So if gold moves up dramatically, you got to ask yourself two things. Do I believe gold's going to stay at this dramatically higher level? In the event that happens, I'm just giving you some scenarios here in my opinion. And gold moves up dramatically, and you're saying silver hasn't moved at all. In fact, it's down 50 cents or a dollar. So there's two things that you're being told here. Either gold is too high, it'll come back down, and the gold to silver ratio will get more in line, or that silver is too low and it's going to play catch up with gold. I have found that in the bull market we're in a long-term bull market with silver and gold. It's hard to see because it's like watching your kids grow. A lot of people expect bull markets to look like straight vertical lines, especially the younger generation that has dealt with these meme stocks and has dealt with cryptos. To them, a bull market means a vertical line upwards, and get rich quick kind of thing. But to us old timers, I won't say old timers. God, I hate to call myself an old timer. I still surf and do all this cool stuff. But to us older guys or seasoned people that have been around and have the wisdom to see, we understand that gold and silver markets don't react that same way. They're very slow and determined on where they go. They can make big erratic moves, but Well, here we are. This is what we're kind of seeing right now. And I could go off on a tangent on that. And we got plenty of things to discuss. Let's take a look at equity markets. There we go. Yeah, it looks like a continuation of yesterday, a bit slower. By this time yesterday, we were at 900 points down. And I forget where we were with the NASDAQ and the S&P, but this hemorrhaging has not stopped. I think that this is probably the big one, perhaps, with equity markets. And the question is what kind of collapse is this going to look like? The greatest bubble of all time, when it collapses, is it going to be like letting the air out slowly of the balloon, or is it going to be a pinprick and everything blows up at once? I'm thinking if central bankers and economic people that run the globe, run the United States, not politicians. They can't possibly comprehend what's going on because most of them aren't that smart. But the bankers and the economic people that run the world, I think they may have learned their lesson from 2008. So what we may see is a systematic type letting the air out of the balloon slowly to let it down in increments. And maybe that's what we saw yesterday. We started to see the pinprick and the balloon was going to explode. All of a sudden the presidential working group comes in, or the Plunge protection team. They spend a couple billion or whatever, shore up the markets right there, create that idea that, okay, this is not the big pinprick, this is not the explosion that we saw in 2008. However, folks, I bet you when the details come out of what happened yesterday, if they ever do come out, I'm not sure the presidential working group has any obligation to ever tell anybody what they're doing. My understanding is complete secrecy unless they want it to be. But no less, I think we may find out that yesterday the bubble burst and that the government or some entity came in and stepped in with billions and maybe even the T word, trillions, to prop that market up to prevent it from collapsing. That's my opinion. I'm going to stick with it. But meanwhile, look at that. We're down again today, a little more in a systematic way. So what kind of collapse are we going to see? Are we going to see the bubble, the pinprick that just makes the balloon explode, or are we going to see a slow, systematic letting the air out of this? And a slow letdown, which will be kind of like Japanese, what do they call it? The Japanese when they stagflation, when I don't even call it stagflation, but the Japanese economy was zombie for 2 decades, 3 decades, maybe even still today, zombified. And that's maybe what we're going to see here. I'm not quite sure. They're going to try to keep this boat afloat. Remember, as I've always said, in my opinion, I don't think the Federal Reserve and central bankers that run these things are stupid. I think they understand that the Titanic has been going down for a long time, and like any good captain, they can't tell the passengers it's going down. They're all going to die. They got to jawbone the passengers into feeling comfortable as they slowly sink below the surface. Just my opinion. Let's take a look at Bitcoin price, 36,230. Poor Bitcoin, and I know people say I pick on it, but trust me, I don't pick on Bitcoin any more than I'd pick on any other casino. And trust me, also, I believe that equity markets can be a casino as well. However, the volatility of this stuff just frightens me, and it has high volatility and low longevity. That's the thing that concerns me most about this. And I don't know who actually really made it. It's some guy named Satoshi. What I do like about gold and silver, it was made by imploding stars, so it is truly rare, and my understanding, still to this day, uncrackable, as far as alchemists that can create gold out of thin air, which is what this is really, just money out of thin air, imagination. But no less, so are a lot of other things. Define what money is. We imagine our dollar bills in our pocket as a trade unit, so it is, all right? So a lot of what you believe, your perception, is truth, at least for our narrative. Well, anyways, lots of volatility here. There's your 1 year. I think it's 1 year, and Bitcoin is still up 1 year, but when you kind of throw in on these charts a little bit and you get into the 1 month, I'd like to see a 6 month. Well, 6 months would be half of that. But the overall trend since the height right there, it just looks like it's creeping downward slowly and slowly. My feeling is that the large the large investment monies that went in by institutions that kind of created this higher level right here got a lot of the hodlers in Ecuador, the New York City mayor, to start getting paid in Bitcoin. So those are going to be the true hodlers. So I believe that big institutions have thrown people under the bus when it comes to Bitcoin, and I don't think that's going to stop. I think that's going to continue. That market is tainted, in my opinion. However, if you know how to play it and make money, you're my hero. Just like if you went to Las Vegas and you came back with $1 million in card money, you're my hero too. I am a capitalist, so I don't think any of this stuff should be illegal. I think you should be able to do this. And I think as adults, we should be able to put our money anywhere we want. So don't confuse me with someone that wants to see this go away. I just understand it for what it is. Let's take a look at ZH and see what's going on out here. We are being ruled by numbnuts, that's for sure. Wow. And people that don't respect the Constitution. I know. What's this got to do with gold and silver, Brian? Well, this has got to do with the decay of our Constitution, the decay of our moral responsibilities as citizens out there to others. It's got the decay of our individual freedoms, most importantly. And this has a lot to do with the price of gold, because the more these kind of people double down on stupid, the more the price of gold and silver are going to go up, because they're bound to make wrong decisions, whether it's socially or economically, and they do. And the problem with these kind of people is that they do not, like even this person right here, they do not acknowledge their mistakes. What they do is they double down on their stupid when it comes to their mistakes. This guy's not much different. The lockdowns and the things that he did are just awful, man, just awful. Well, let's get away from that and see if there's anything here we want to talk about. IMF slashes global GDP growth to 4.4%, warns on aggressive Fed tightening. Man, just jawboning. I mean, they've even fooled the IMF. Well, maybe they are. The central bankers are the IMF. What are we talking about? This is just all propaganda, and this is all just bullshit right here. Construed with bad numbers, bad data, propaganda, you name it. They're jawboning us worldwide, folks. So get over it and plan accordingly. Let me go down here. Boy, it looks like ARK is up a little bit today. U.S. home prices decelerate for the fourth straight month. Well, folks, if you think it's just going to be equity markets to get hit in the greatest bubble of all time, it will not be. Even precious metals on the paper side will probably take a good hit if this pinprick was allowed to implode. And maybe gold was implying that it wasn't going to implode, because gold's still certainly seeming like some weird activity went on before this market crash and in the gold markets, and it kind of makes you wonder a little bit. All right, JP Morgan, too big to fail, too big to jail. I would say do as they do, don't do as they say, because they're all about lining their own pockets and probably some of their bigger clients' pockets, because that's, they don't own their own money. They just, they use other people's, OPM, other people's money to make money. That's how JPM makes money, other people's misery. And they're the ones that are probably, according to Ted Butler, and I believe that his educated guess is the most correct out there, JPM is probably the company that screwed Bank of America. Again, what we talked about yesterday and this week. I don't want to beat the subject too much up, but oddly enough, not many people are talking about it. Not many people are talking about this trade with BOFA. And it surprises me, and certainly no corporate media. So, but like I said, do as they do, don't do as JPM says. Let's go down here. One of my favorite authors out there also is this guy right here, Charles Hugh Smith of Two Minds blog. I'll show you his blog site. But he's got a really good graph out here, and the anatomy of a bear market. Ready? Bulls, this is what bulls are saying. The crash is finally happening. Better sell before we lose. This is what the bears are saying. This is it. The crash is gaining momentum. Two different mentalities out here. The route of new highs is kicking into gear. Buy. That would be the bulls. Finally, here's a rally to new highs. Well, you can see how bulls kind of take these bear markets like here, and how the reaction of bull or bears is kind of just the opposite. And no matter what, it seems like nobody is the real winner when the bubble collapses, because you just find it hard to time these bottoms. And I think that's what we're going to see here, unless we see a systematic kind of slow letting out of the air of this bubble. However, I don't know, man. That'd be tough for them to pull off. Well, what else is? Oh, I told you I'd show you this guy's website because he writes some really good stuff. And if you're interested in the stuff that I read and the kind of things that helps me form my opinions, Mr. Hugh is one of them out here. And again, you can find this site for free, read it for free, up2minds.com. He does ask for contributions, and if you find his writings worthy, please send him a contribution. Why bear markets are tough. Excellent article. Reading this will make you smarter than the average bear. Trust me. I shouldn't say trust me. I'm starting to sound like a politician here. All right, we're talking about Presidential Working Group and the PPT, the Plunge Protection Team. Now, when I typed in Presidential Working Group, here's primarily what I got up. I got pages and pages, and maybe this is to be expected, of nothing explaining what the Presidential Working Group really is. I actually had to type in, well, there you go, Emerson Education talks about it a little bit. But a lot of the articles, and it surprised me, that popped up here, fact sheets, Presidential Working Group on Financial Markets, they do produce, my understanding is the Presidential Working Group can publish stuff that they want, let the public know what they want them to know, but they also have the right to intervene in markets, and they have the right to manipulate markets in the guise of protecting the United States global security, because apparently economics is tied in with global security. So they've made the reasoning that they can intervene in markets because of security for the United States. But no less, you get a small group of people that are able to do that, able to intervene and manipulate markets and never let it known that it's being done. I wonder if gata.org talks about this. They probably do. But I typed in Presidential Working Group, and there's not much comes up other than some interesting papers that they have put out about crypto coins, oddly enough, as well. So if you're into crypto, you should probably take a look at some of those reports that they put out. Let's take a look of the other name for the Presidential Working Group. And Investopedia actually has it in here. I'm going to take a sip of coffee real quick, one sec. What is the Plunge Protection Team? The Plunge Protection Team, PPT, is a colloquial name given to the working group on financial markets, created in 1988 to provide financial and economic recommendations to the U.S. President during turbulent market times. This group is headed by the Secretary of Treasury. Other members include the Chair of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve, the Chair of Securities and Exchange Commission, and the Chair of the Commodities Future Trading Commission. Oh, God. Oh, we're screwed, man. So, all right, I shouldn't say that. Let me blow this up a little bit so you can really enjoy this like I am. So this is what the Plunge Protection Team is. It's a secret gathering of the Secretary of Treasury, other governors of the Federal Reserve, the Chair of the Securities Exchange Commission, SEC, and the commodity CFTC. Oh, that's scary. And these people are actually, and this makes you wonder when you see the CFTC in here, if they actually intervene, and why I asked if GATA is talked about this, CFTC makes you wonder if they've actually intervened in gold and silver markets as well. You know, GATA's but GATA's position that governments are directly involved in banks that are directly involved with manipulating gold and silver markets. This might be proof of it as well, because again, they can do it behind closed doors and we'll never know about it, or the aides or officials they designate to represent them on the Plunge Protection Team. So they can just say, we're not showing up, we're sending someone to do it for us. All right, and why am I talking about this? Because this is the likely scenario of what saved yesterday's, what made the 900-point reversal in the Dow market and the other markets. What caused that? It was so unnatural that you know for sure that someone came in and they manipulated it. And this is probably who? The Plunge Protection Team. Again, we'll never know about it. They'll never tell us. And they don't tell us half the shit they do, probably. And they get away with it. And probably a lot of it's, in my opinion, not legal, or I don't know. You know, these are people trying to manipulate markets, and it never ends well. So the name Plunge Protection Team was coined by the Washington Post and first applied to the group in 1997. Key takeaways: the Plunge Protection Team is a colloquial name given into the working group on financial markets by the Wall Street Journal. Okay, so the Wall Street Journal invented that PPT term when they probably found out about it. Boy, is that back when they actually might have done some investigative journalism? Ooh, that's frightening. The PPT official mission is to advise the U.S. president during times of economic and stock market turbulence. All right, so there you go, folks. That's kind of the proof in the pudding. What happened yesterday is government stepped in, PPT stepped in with the Fed, and they injected a huge amount of money into the equities. Maybe they bought a huge amount of equities or did something, but whatever they did was the reason for that reversal. It wasn't natural. Therefore, it probably will not work out well. And as we can see today, the plunge continues. All right. Critics fear that the PPT team doesn't just advise, but actively intervenes to prop up stock prices, colluding with banks to rig the market, in effect. There you go. And critics. Why would you call them critics? I'm surprised they don't call them conspiracists, okay? You know why they don't call them conspiracists? Because this is likely true. You notice they use the word critics, all right, not conspiracists. So they're halfway admitting that they're actually admitting by saying critics, not conspiracists, that it is true. Colluding, they're saying that, well, why would you criticize if they collude with the banks? With the banks to rig the market, in effect. This is exactly what I think we saw yesterday, is that the Plunge protection team colluded with banks to rig the market yesterday upwards because they know where this is going. They've seen it before, and maybe they've learned from it, and that's why we didn't see the complete collapse already. We didn't see the pinprick. We didn't see the explosion. I have a feeling we're going to see more of this. As the markets get hit heavily, I think the Fed now, since they know they can endlessly print money, it's going to go in there and try to save that market. But again, folks, remember what I said, what these people do is they double down on stupid. They don't fix the problem. They don't admit they made a problem. They just double down on their stupidity, and that's what we're seeing with this. How the PPT works. In March 1988, in the wake of the stock market crash of 1987, I remember that, Black Friday I think it was, then President Ronald Reagan created by executive order the Presidential Working Group on Financial Markets. The concept was to create an informed but informal advisory group on the markets for the President and regulators, charged with enhancing the integrity, efficiency, orderliness, and competitiveness of our nation's financial markets and maintaining investors' confidence. That's a bunch of bullshit. What really happened is after the stock market crash of 1987, the government had its bright idea that it could stop those kind of things, that it was good to stop them, actually, which is not. If if a market is ready to collapse, it means it's at its failure point. It shouldn't be as high as it is. Business shouldn't be where it's at because they're doing stupid things. Let them fail. You let them fail. It's a lot of pain. It's a lot of hurt. But what happens after they fail? New businesses that actually know how to do the right thing come in and buy the assets, and we have a better market afterwards. And quicker, too. Recovery is much quicker. What they've been doing, folks, is stupid. They've just been taking the patient, as I've always said, this is what the Fed's been doing and government's probably been doing as well. The patient has been hemorrhaging since we got off the gold standard. And 2008 was when it just frickin' blew a hole right in the patient, hemorrhaging, blood everywhere. And instead of fixing it, admitting that they've been wrong, they were never going to go back to a gold standard. What did they do in 2008? They just threw Band-Aids on it. They tried to stop the hemorrhaging and just pumped more plasma into the patient, more dollars. M2, M1, whatever you want to call it. All right? Patient's still hemorrhaging, folks. And so anyway, PPT, its original purpose was to report specifically on the Black Monday events of October 19th, 87. During that event, the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 22.6%. Folks, I remember that too. I don't think anyone remembers a 22% fall of these young people and a lot of people that are actually controlling financial markets in our economy, in our politics. They don't remember that. They don't understand that. They don't see what happened and how it actually should have been handled. But no less, and what actions, if any, should be taken. However, the group was continued to meet and report to various presidents over the years, usually but always during turbulent times in financial markets. In 1999, it issued a recommendation to Congress requesting changes in the derivative markets regulations. It convened during the global crisis of 2008, and this is what we know. There's a lot of stuff you don't know, and again, they're not obligated to tell us, folks. They can do this stuff in secret. They're like, no, they don't have to tell anyone, not God himself, not the president himself, actually, but I think he's involved with it directly as well, so that wouldn't be the case. But they don't have to tell the Pope, they don't have to tell God, they don't have to tell you, me, the people that work for them, any of this. They can just do what they want. Let's see. And the Plunge Protection Team's latest gathering as of March 2019 was on Christmas Eve 2018. Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin, wasn't he a JP guy, JP Morgan guy? Like I said, they're all in bed with each other, folks up there. Chaired a conference call with other members of the group, in addition to representatives from the Comptroller of the Currency and the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. Concerns about the Plunge Protection Team. Now here we go. Although not, listen, this is a long one, and I encourage you to read this yourself to kind of get it in your head. But, however, if you want to know who's controlling things and what actually happened yesterday, and the most likely what happened yesterday with that reversal, this is it. Though not exactly a secret, the PPT isn't widely covered and doesn't release the minutes of its meetings or its recommendations, reporting only to the president. This behavior leads some observers to wonder if the government's most important financial officials are doing more than analyzing and advising. In fact, that are actively intervening in markets. We know this to be the case because they call us critics, not conspiracists. Oh, here they call us already. Conspiracy theorists, here you go, have regulated the group executes trades on several exchanges when prices are heading downward, collaborating with big banks such as Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley. Go figure, folks. They often point to a 1989 speech published in the Wall Street Journal by former Federal Reserve Robert Hiller, which suggests that the Fed could directly support the stock market by purchasing index futures contracts. Folks, the smoking gun here. So again, this is conspiracy theorists that say this, all right? That's what they want you to think. How the Plunge Protection Team might work, all right? Boy, we can go... give me 1 second here, and let's take a look here. On Monday, 2008, the Dow Jones Industrial experienced a drop that was twice as large as its biggest point decline in history. However, arbitrary and aggressive buying cut the decline in half in one day. Sound familiar? On Tuesday and Wednesday of that week, stocks opened lower, and each time aggressive buying buoyed the markets. That aggressive buying, some say, was being orchestrated by the Plunge Protection Team. Folks, what you saw was the Plunge Protection Team in action yesterday. It's not a conspiracy, in my opinion. It is fact. And in fact, most conspiracies like this turn out to be true. And there's a lot of evidence that points that this is exactly what we've got going on, is we've got manipulation directly by the government. Instead of fixing the problem and allowing some pain, and maybe even allowing the patient to go downhill for a little bit before he recovers, they keep pumping more plasma, they keep manipulating this, they keep doubling down on stupid, okay? Or take a more recent example, the Plunge Protection Team's aforementioned teleconference on December 24, 2018, that the whole month the SP 500 had been heading towards the record decline. The motive for the team's meeting, and the Dow Jones dropped 650 on the 24th alone. But when trading resumed after Christmas, the Dow Jones rallied over 1,000 points. On the 27th, it lost half these gains until a late day reversal stopped the slide and caused the market close 600 points up. That's no coincidence. Conspiracy theorists argue, and it wasn't a coincidence, folks. Your equity markets are being highly manipulated right now by government money and Fed money. This is not healthy. It will not end well. And you know what? If they want to buy those index futures, they want to manipulate these markets, don't let you be the one holding the bag with this bullshit. You cash out, in my opinion, and let them hold the bag. Again, my opinion, I'm not a financial advisor, but that's how I feel about this. If they're in there manipulating these markets, which I am certain they are, again, my opinion, let them hold the bag. But that's not what's happening. They're trying to get you to hold the bag. The difference between, all right, 1 second. If true, all right, this is sort of a manipulation, not unlike the actions of a consortium of private bankers and financiers in the late 19th and 20th century, who, during financial panics, would step in to shore up the stock market with massive purchases. The difference, of course, is that the working group on financial markets is composed of U.S. government officials, and the U.S. is supposed to operate on a free market system. Got that? Free market system. And it's not. And also an open one, not one influenced by mysterious forces. All right, folks, this is really heavy stuff here, and this is exactly what we got going on. Our markets are supposed, and this is the way we assume they run. They tell us this is the way they run. They're lying to us, all right? They tell us that it's only supposed to be a free market system and it's an open one, not influenced by mysterious forces, but we know this is a lie. These big banks like JP and these other banks are in bed with them, all right? They sit on these boards that don't have to tell you anything and that sit with the bankers that can actually print endless money and not tell you where it goes. This is what happened yesterday, folks. Don't let them lie to you. Well, anyways, this is my opinion and the opinion of a lot of people way smarter than me. I'm just trying to explain it in my simple layman terms. I encourage you to go out and read more about this yourself. In fact, it's not homework because no one likes homework, but go to Investopedia, type in Plunge Protection Team, read this for yourself, read it a second time. You're going to agree with me 100%, I would bet. As far as you crypto guys out there, this is interesting. Take a look at this fact sheet released November 1st, 2021. They're talking about stable coins, and they're talking about maybe making stable coins illegal. I think the crypto people out there are kind of screwed. Government, the presidential, if the presidential working group is involved with cryptos, forget about it. You guys, you don't have a chance. They'll control that market like they're controlling $1 trillion stock market right now. But again, never underestimate the power of the Fed. These guys have a printing press, so they can go in there and manipulate it, but it won't end well. They want you to hold the bag. Don't hold the bag, folks. Hey, I'd like to let you all know that I'm on Reddit, and I'd like to thank the Reddit folks for not hosting my videos, but allowing my videos to stay up. I haven't seen any censorship there, and I'm quite happy with that. And a lot of good people out there in Wall Street Silver. They're pumping up the markets. And if you're not a member, I recommend you to go there. And if you are a member, I am Brian Kuzmar, Gold and Silver Pro, and I think my name is You Because. That's where you can find me there. And we're also now on GATTR, Getter, and I'll probably end up trying to get a Twitter account. We're trying to increase our footprint out there and increase the message that we're trying to send and increase my local business. As you know, I am here to do business. I should talk about that more often, but I do. We advertise to be APMEX JMSD Bullion, and that's one of the reasons I'm talking about gold and silver here for my local customers. But there's a lot of you that aren't local. And for those of that you listen to me from out of my immediate area, I really appreciate it. I get calls from you. I've met some of you folks out there that have traveled to Florida. Some of you came over here just to meet me. Not come to Florida just to meet me, but you're in the area. And I really appreciate it. I really, really do, and I appreciate you watching. If I can give you any good advice, because you can't deal with me directly unless you come here, find yourself a good local smart dealer like myself. Doesn't have to be as handsome as me, but find a good local dealer, and even if you have to drive an hour or two to keep the money in your state, buy locally, because a lot of times these local guys, they spend the money local, and they can mostly beat the prices of the online sellers like APMEX, JM, and SD for their more reasonably priced products. I do. My local customers get to buy from me, get to deal face-to-face with me, and our prices are just as good if they're going to buy online from those, again, for the reasonably priced products. I don't consider Eagles reasonably priced, even though I'll still beat their prices on those. And then they got some weird products out there I wouldn't even carry that are more collectible. But I digress. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. And let's take a look at yesterday's video. JPM screws BOFA, ? And seems highly likely that they did. That is an interesting story. It's not on any corporate news whatsoever. You heard it first with Ted Butler, I believe. He is the guy that broke this story that is likely to be true. And again, it's his educated opinion. And as I said, if you don't read Ted Butler, I highly recommend you start reading his stuff. Just do a Google search for Ted Butler and read whatever you can. Man is very smart with that stuff. Well, let's take a look at yesterday's comments. And again, please hit that like, subscribe, and share button as well. And let me go down here and see if I can answer some questions. Thank you, all you folks out here that I'm showing that I'm. And if you get motion sickness, you should close your eyes when I'm doing this. Let me see. Man, lots of comments yesterday. I'm going to try to hit some questions that are more involved with. Again, I really appreciate all the comments here, but I'm going to try to just focus on the ones that ask questions based on what we were talking about. Thank you. I appreciate that. And yes, it will be. And give me 1 second here. And as I said, I want to thank you, all you folks here. I tried calling Bank of America to get more. Yeah, I think you're probably pissing in the wind with that, Anna Pike, because they don't know. The people that answer the phones there are just they're good working class blue collar or white collar people that haven't a clue what's going on in the back offices. One sec. A little bit of coffee. Thanks for watching, Anna Pike, but I agree with you. It's kind of, it make me wonder about having a Bank of America account, with all that shit going on. And that's true, sir. And Crimex, Mr. Ted Butler coined that term. Yes, he did. Aha! And as you know, I'm a supporter of Ted Butler, and I also believe that he is absolutely correct in his assessments. Let's take a look here. Yep, me too. And there you go. You said this yesterday, Johnny Boy Silver. You're absolutely correct. I believe that's true too. The Plunge protection team had to pump it up another 300 points to make it look respectable. I don't think we've seen the end of the PPT either. I think they're going to continue to try to slowly let this market deflate instead of a large explosion at once. But I think that's a big mistake as well. Maybe I'm wrong. Yes, Brian. Hey, Brian. Joey, what's up? Let's see. What's the limit on buying gold without paperwork to file? Just saying that would cause someone to file paperwork on you, so you got to be very careful what you say. Laws says that if you go into a bank and you know your customer, banking laws say that a bank can write up a suspicious activity report on you if you walk into a bank and you ask them if you can deposit more $10,000 without paperwork. Just innocently ask them that, because you want to avoid doing stuff you don't have to do. All right, nothing criminal. You know that if you ask that, they will write up a suspicious activity report on you. You know that if you rolled your eyes, if they explained it to you, they can write up a suspicious. It's ridiculous. So I don't know. You need to ask. What's the limit on buying gold? There's no limit on buying gold. There's no paperwork to fill out. The only paperwork that I'm aware that you have to fill out is when you go to sell. They want their piece of their pie. They want their capital gains tax on your gold and silver or whatever tax they want for it. That's the only time that you're going to get taxed on gold and silver. But it's no different than equities. It's no different than any. Well, equities are a lower tax rate too. Something else we'll talk about someday. Thanks for watching, Joe. I appreciate that. There's a rumor on the net that business in Orlando are only accepting cash today, no credit cards. I don't know. That might be just things are down. Tough to say, but thanks for watching, Robert. Heart of Texas. And turn silver. Yep, that's true. Who didn't see this? Michael Saylor trying to convince everyone that Bitcoin is just like gold. Michael Saylor did a great disservice to people, in my opinion. And I think that he suckered in a lot of smaller people so the whales could swallow them, maybe even himself. But I think he's losing a lot as well. Not too bright. Give me 1 second. Cliff High, data mining expert, just take that gold and silver swap place in terms of value. I don't have enough data. I haven't watched his data mining expert. I don't know who he is. He could very well be right. I'm just not familiar with it. I'd rather not comment on things I'm not familiar with. As far as gold and silver swapping in value, I don't see it. Is it impossible? I wouldn't say unless I actually looked at the guy's data, and you never know. It's possible, I guess. But meanwhile, I don't think my gut says no, but I'd sure be interested to kind of maybe look into it. Hey, thanks for watching Q&A. And Sierra Legacy Evia, thank you, I appreciate that. Ron and Wayne want to cut Rustin created the Grace Commission and was covering every penny collected in federal. Interesting. That is interesting. Thanks for making that comment. I appreciate that. How many people want to start a class action against JPM? I don't know. It'd be like suing the government probably. I think they got more money than the government for sure. Jeffrey Christian, I think he's the guy I was talking about. Thanks. Again, I want to acknowledge everybody that commented here. Yep, there's room to boom up there, William. I appreciate that. And again, sorry about that, folks. I didn't get a chance to look for questions earlier, but as I said, all you commenters, man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to respond to every comment anymore. They're just getting larger and larger. I'll have to do a show just on comments, maybe. If gold falls to 700-800, I'll gladly pay 200. You got a very good point there. Stack it like a beach. Wouldn't argue with that. Looks like another stack day for silver. Yes, it does. And I've heard millionaires are buying silver now over gold. Okay. Again, like to thank everyone. Tired of all the graphs and BS, you guys. I think he wants graphs and bullshit. I think he wanted a period there. Sorry about that, Ernest. Some people like graphs and bullshit. I tend to try to, do a little bit of everything and give everybody a little, but what can I say? You guys have perfect platform to bring to the forefront that these people should be brought to justice by the FBI. The proof is there, and the justice system can't stay there week. I can't argue with that, but really, people like myself individually have made so many calls, CFTC, government officials. I have personally, and I'm sure a lot of others have. And as a whole, I think a lot of us are starting to become more and more aware. So I do believe that more people are becoming aware, more people are calling, and I actually think that they're starting to get a clue that this is happening. People are starting to wake up to this bullshit, Ernest. So I think your dream is coming true. At some point, they're going to get enough people knocking on the door that they're going to have to look at it or end it or something. Bill says I'm getting all my political news from mainstream media. Bill, you must be a new viewer. And by the way, thanks for watching. I appreciate it, and commenting. You're not even close, sir. I don't, in fact, it does filter to me that way, but I keep a very open mind. I read all kinds of different sources. And in fact, if you ever watch my videos, I am completely anti-corporate news because they serve a single narrative viewpoint. Sometimes their viewpoint is right. Sometimes the narrative is correct, but there's many times when they lie to us, and there's many times when they give us false narratives, and that bothers me. So that's why I'm always looking elsewhere, and I don't trust them. Of late, of the last decade, they seem to give us a single narrative, and they lie to us a lot. Again, my opinion. So if you watch enough of my videos, you'll know that that is not correct, sir. And I do have a different outlook, but thanks for watching, Bill. I think if you watch enough of my videos, you'll find we're probably on the same page. Well, that's it, man. As I said, I like to end the show with this year's theme. This year's, the theme of my year and the quote of the year for me is going to be this one. Think for yourself and question authority. And let me add, question yourself. Question whose narrative is in your brain. Is it yours, or is it something that's been introduced to you over time that you just swallowed wholesale? You wholesale just took it, you know what I mean? But anyway, question authority especially, and question yourself if you want to be a well-rounded person that has good data. Well, that's it. This is Brian Kuzmar with Commercial Rare Coins and Precious Metals. I've got a lot of great product on hand, 100-ounce bars, 1-ounce bars, 10-ounce bars, great deals on silver, great deals on gold. I will beat Atmex, JM, SD, bullion out there, so if you live in my area, come by and see me. I'm open 10 to 4 Mondays through Fridays. Call me anytime. Again, if you live in South Florida, happy to help you out. If you don't live in Florida, please find yourself a smart dealer like myself. They're out there. They exist. Find one locally. And for those of you that have nobody within hours and hours and hours, maybe one day I hope to open up an online store, but we'll see. I do this best for right now, and I'm going to stick with what I do, a brick and mortar. Hey, thanks for watching. Let's see what happens tomorrow, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye now.